Today we're driving the 2024 BMW i5 M60. This is the ultimate high-performance version of the electric BMW 5 Series. We have 590 horsepower. This will do 256 miles on a full charge. It's all-wheel drive. It has two electric motors, one in the front, one in the rear. Let's walk you around it. We'll take it for a drive, and we'll give you guys some driving impressions, some first driving impressions of this i5 M60. This car is painted in Cape York green metallic, which looks fantastic in my opinion. Similar front end to the other 5 Series models, but we have this blocked off front grille. The new 5 Series is a little bit larger in every dimension. It's a little bit taller too to accommodate that battery pack. Nice looking BMW. They haven't done anything too outrageous with the styling. It's still recognizable as a 5 Series. And this i5 in M60 form has some serious performance. 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds. The i5 does have a slightly raised trunk floor area to accommodate that battery pack, though you do get some underfloor storage here, which is nice. In the back seat, feels about like a BMW 5 Series. I'm 5'10", this is my driving position. I have some room to put my feet underneath the front seat. Love some of the detailing here with the Bowers & Wilkins speaker covers, the door handle, everything is beautifully integrated in this interior. That same minimal design that we started to see with the iX and that we've seen with the i7. This is BMW's new vegan leather. Feels very nice, very high quality. We get a couple USB-C ports back here. A place to put a tablet or phone mount. Yeah, all very nice. Nice panoramic sunroof. The i5 M60 is not cheap. It starts at around $85,000, and as tested with a handful of options, this is 95 grand. I'll put some details in the description, but definitely one of the more expensive EVs out there. That said, it is very nice. And in my mind, the 5 Series has always been kind of that perfect blend of size, luxury, performance, agility. We have 21-inch wheels on all 4 corners, Continental Eco Contact 6 tires, kind of a sporty EV tire, 255s in the front, and I believe 285s in the rear. Yeah, 285/30 R21s, 255/35 R21s in the front. Carbon fiber mirror caps. Pretty cool looking spec. Carbon fiber in the interior. This is just beautiful. Boost button on the left here. That'll really make your throttle tuning aggressive and give you a little bit of extra power for 10 seconds or less. Red strip in the middle of the steering wheel, letting you know that this is the sporty version. Seats are very comfortable. Good visibility all around too. This is iDrive 8.5. We see a few changes and revisions here. Climate control is a little bit easier to navigate, less complicated. It's a little bit more simplified. We have these vent controls here too. Control airspeed from them. Make minor adjustments to air direction. Glad that's not hidden in the infotainment. And we can also adjust heated seats and steering wheel heat with a little bit more ease in iDrive 8.5, which is nice. Of course, wireless CarPlay, Android Auto. You've got kind of these constant icons here at the bottom. On first impressions, after spending a couple hours in cars with it, it's a kind of a nice system. I prefer it to iDrive 8. And we've got some more touch controls over here to the left. Seat memory settings, lock, unlock, and light controls. Auto up-down windows on all 4 corners. We also get a rear window shade. Love to see that. Our moonroof shade rolls back from the front, which is a little bit different. Usually it comes from the rear. Same iDrive controls that we started to see in the iX. Kind of a switched around layout. Not the biggest fan of the way this feels, but you do get used to it after some time. Little crystal shifter here. You can see our reverse camera and forward-facing camera. And there's a bit of a noise when you put this into reverse to notify people around you that you are backing up. Super light steering. Put this back into park. We've got wireless charging down here, 2 cup holders, which are, or can be heated. They're not in this car. Some different options in this compared to the i5 eDrive 40 that we drove a little while ago. So we'll make some comparisons today between this and the eDrive 40, which is rear-wheel drive and has 335 horsepower. This has 590 horsepower. Is it worth that extra money for the more powerful version? Let's go find out. Steering is still ultra light here. In addition to all the different drive modes we get in the car, from sport to efficient, etc., this has 2 regenerative braking modes. So you put it in drive, that's what it'll default to. Let off the accelerator and it'll just coast, or you can pull back on the shifter and it'll go into B mode and it'll come to a complete stop. It's essentially a 1-pedal drive mode. I prefer driving in B mode. Let's go into sport mode too. Why not? We have active sway bars, rear wheel steer, lots of good stuff here to help aid in cornering capability and performance. An incredibly quiet driving experience. We might turn on BMW's iconic sounds here partway through, but right now I'm just enjoying the silence of this i5. Steering feels slightly heavier than the eDrive 40, which is only rear-wheel drive. Power, though it's more immediate and of course more forceful, I mean, is it really necessary? I would argue the eDrive 40 feels like a more balanced package. Though if you want that performance, you want all-wheel drive capability, and you want that top dog EV, oof, it's hard to argue with that level of acceleration. That's pretty quick. I've got to say, BMW really does make a nice electric vehicle. This is impressive stuff here. It's so refined, it's so smooth, so well calibrated. Boost mode real quick here. Yeah. Brakes feel great. Everything is as it should be in this i5. It feels kind of similar to the iX, but of course looks a lot better and is in a sportier package. About a 5,300 pound curb weight here in this M60, a little bit more than the 5,000 pound curb weight in the eDrive 40. Lots of ambient lighting, very similar to the i7 that we drove recently and the iX. This is a very cool interior. When you first get into it, the tech and the screens and the controls are a little bit much, a little bit overwhelming, but we have highway assist to help us with driving. And we'll see how that works on the way home. These are also going to be some pretty early first impressions on this car. I'm out here at BMW's Test Fest in South Carolina, and we're driving a bunch of BMW products over the next day or two, and really only spending about an hour with this car. So we'll get some more time with this back in Michigan, maybe even on winter tires, who knows, and spend a week with it, get to know it, become more familiar with the controls, play around with the video gaming system. But I figured today it'd be worth exploring some of these good back roads that we have out here. Oh. Yeah, good stuff. That is impressive. I really like the steering here. There's a bit more weight, maybe even a little bit more feel in this M60. I'm sure part of that are the active sway bars, the sportier tires, but this just hustles. It is a very nice, fluid performance EV driving experience. So much grip, so much traction. Okay, maybe this is worth the extra coin. Yeah, this is fun. This is fun. And I just love how silent it is. Let's go in. Let's turn on iconic sounds. Of course, composed by Hans Zimmer. I will say occasionally some of the smaller icons at the bottom of the screen are a bit challenging to accurately press, and if you do rest your hand here, it's going to be fingerprints galore. And that is one thing that I do not like about this interior, is everything is gloss, everything is black, it picks up dust, picks up fingerprints in the worst way. And it would be nice if we had some different materials in this i5. Sadly, that's not the case, so you're going to want to keep a microfiber handy, but I'm worried that after even just a year of use, everything's just going to be scratched up in here. So, bit of a shame BMW didn't go with some different materials for all of your high traffic touch areas, but it is what it is. Maybe we'll see some different variations in the future. You could always maybe wrap it or something, who knows. Just take good care with the microfiber and you should be in good shape. Very comfortable car to drive at lower speeds. The steering is light. It's quiet. The ride quality is excellent. I really don't have a lot of complaints about the way this drives. It's pretty awesome. Even the Bowers and Wilkins sound system is fantastic. I was talking to one of the BMW reps last night at dinner, and they said they flogged one of these around the racetrack for about 30 minutes. Lost a little bit of charge, but didn't have any issues with overheating. And I don't know if we'll get a chance to drive this tomorrow around the BMW Performance Center, but if we do, it should be a pretty good time. Let's do a quick launch here. Just rolling into it there. This is a little bit more of a refined driving experience than the i4 M50. This i5 M60 is a huge, actually a pretty big improvement. The i4 didn't really know where to send its power. It was torque steering. It feels like they've really figured out the drivetrain tuning and the all-wheel drive in this M60. This is good. This is very good. This boost pedal is a little bit counterintuitively placed. It's on the left, which means that it should be a downshift, which means I feel like it should be to slow the car down. I feel like it should be on the right as like an upshift or power thing. But I can see that, like, if you want to downshift, that would give you more power. So you press the boost button and you get more power, but it just changes the throttle mapping. So I don't know. I'm a little bit torn on whether I prefer it on the left or the right, but it's there. I'm sure you get used to it if you live with this car. Kind of a gimmick, but still makes a lot more of a difference in the M60 than it does in the eDrive 40. All right, let's test out handling here. I will say the iconic sounds do add a lot of drama to the EV driving experience. BMW is doing a really great job with that. I'd say BMW and Audi have kind of the best EV driving sounds that I've experienced. I like the bass, the depth to the noises that this makes. And you can't argue with Hans Zimmer's compositions either. Yeah, this is a properly quick car. If you're willing to sacrifice a bit of range for a lot more performance and a bit more fun, this is probably worth paying the extra money for. I don't think it's the right car for most people. You kind of have to be wanting an M car or M car levels of performance to get into something like this. The eDrive 40 is definitely a more balanced and usable package. It's a lot more affordable. It's really nice to drive, maybe a little bit more comfortable, but this M60 is just shockingly quick. I like the suspension. It's super flat, very well controlled. We're not getting a chance to really push the limits of this car out here today, which is fine. But you can feel that there's just that extra level of capability and control from this chassis. Let's put us into efficient. See how that behaves. Still gives you a lot of power. A little bit smoother acceleration. Of course, no iconic sounds. Enjoy the power in complete silence. BMW's done a really good job keeping this interior tight, rattle-free. The car has very little NVH over bumps. There's very little wind noise. I mean, this is a very quiet and serene driving experience. Doing a very nice job putting his power down right there out of that corner. I'm gonna say the traction control, stability control systems in these electric cars work really, really well. In the background, the only chattering away was from ABS under some hard braking going into a corner. Otherwise, you don't really notice it. It all just kind of works in the background seamlessly as it should. While we're just sitting at a light, let's go in and test out this Bowers & Wilkins sound system. This is one of the best sound systems I've heard in a BMW, I think, ever. This is fantastic. It sounds really nice, very clear, good bass, a lot of just nice sounds coming out of these speakers. You can tune some of the other Bowers and Wilkins units to sound pretty good, but out of the box, this sounds fantastic. This and the eDrive 40 had a really nice Bowers and Wilkins. So I've got to compliment Bowers and Wilkins and BMW on doing a great job here. This is a really nice sound system. And if I remember correctly, I think the i4 had a pretty good sound system as well. So BMW is doing good things with their EVs. That's important. Getting out here in some sunlight, you can see just all the dust, the fingerprints on all the gloss black. 55 miles an hour. Barely hear any wind noise. Really a quiet driving experience. Unfortunately, we don't have any highways in our drive route today, so I can't really test out highway assist. We have assisted driving right now, which is what we're set to. Very easily switch it between distance control and assisted driving, but it's keeping us pretty well centered in the lane. With highway assist though, you want to pass slower vehicles, pretty much all you have to do is just look over into your mirror. It'll confirm you want to make the pass, and the car does all the driving for you. It's hands-free. It's pretty awesome. Should be pretty cool tech to test back in Michigan when we get one of these cars on loan for a week. There is really a lot to like about the way this i5 drives. I love the suspension, I love the steering. Dynamically, this is an awesome EV to experience behind the wheel. Of course, we've talked at length about the power, but just little things like the tactility and the feel and the resistance you get from the turn signal. We first saw that in the iX and I loved it, and they've carried it over here in this new car. That hasn't gotten old, and I don't think it will. I think the best way I can describe the performance here is that it's just impressively fast. Every time you put your foot down, you're a little bit taken off guard. All right, so some final thoughts here on the i5 M60. As you saw in the video, the performance, the acceleration, the handling is all pretty insane. This thing is nuts behind the wheel. You can't really approach the limits of this car on the street. It's just too powerful, too fast. You really need some more open roads. We're trying to be safe today in our driving conditions, but yeah, there's a lot of performance here. I'm excited to see what this can do on some more open routes. Maybe we'll get a chance to drive it on track tomorrow, who knows. Excited to take this back to Michigan at some point and drive it some there on our usual test route and explore highway assist. There's a lot to like here. You're paying for it, but BMWs have never really been cheap, so you can come to expect the high price tag. 95 grand as tested with about $10,000 worth of options is getting up there. But I will say this 5 Series is a really, really nice balance. It's not as big and soft and squishy and maybe cumbersome as the 7 Series, the i7, but it has really nice athleticism. And you drive this spiritedly, it feels just as good as a 3 Series or an i4 or an M3 almost. It's pretty impressive. So really good balance here, and you kind of get the best of both worlds with this i5. I've yet to drive the 530i. I will try to get behind the wheel of that today. If not, we'll get it back home in Michigan. But there's also going to be a 540i coming out with the B58 inline 6, and that'll probably be a pretty sweet vehicle from BMW if you're into that. So yeah, lots to like, lots to be excited about with this new 2024 5 Series. Of course, they're all built here in South Carolina in Spartanburg, which is pretty awesome, and sent all over the world. So Spartanburg now is the biggest BMW plant in the world. They're building a lot of actually all of their SUV products and this new 5 Series. So lots to look forward to from BMW. I like some of the design decisions that they've done with this interior. Other things I think they need to perfect and work on. I think if you live with this car long enough, you get used to the ergonomics of everything, and once your settings are all set, you can kind of forget it. But ultimately, it is a bit more of an involved user interface than I would prefer. I still like having those physical controls from previous gen BMW products. I feel like that was just kind of a sweet spot with interior functionality and tech, and it all just kind of working harmoniously. This is a bit needy with your attention, and I think you could easily get distracted and be put in some dangerous situations with a car like this. So you have to be careful, you have to be aware, you have to stay alert and not mess with stuff, not be enticed by the beautifully lit and graphics and displays that we have here in this i5, and pay attention to the road ahead of you. Highway assist may help with that, but again, it's good to see BMW working out some good driving assistance tech in something like this when the infotainment and the UI is pretty intensive and requires a lot of your attention sometimes. So I appreciate their efforts with iDrive 8.5 to reduce some of your inputs with climate control. I think that was important. I think ultimately one of my biggest complaints here is just all the gloss black in this interior. It's just, it ain't cute. Also, getting blinded by the sun right now, right there. So already seeing a lot of scratches, a lot of fingerprints, and this car has only a few hundred miles on it. So something to consider there, BMW. Hopefully you can figure out some better materials to put in this high traffic center stack. Otherwise though, those are some thoughts on the new i5 M60. Much better performance, much better drivetrain tuning here, all-wheel drive tuning, than the i4 M50 that we drove about a year ago. So BMW is definitely making some strides there with their 2-motor electric all-wheel drive drivetrains, which is nice. Nice to see. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned for some more content filmed out here in Spartanburg at BMW's Test Fest. We also filmed an X5M, which was a real treat, and of course the eDrive 40 base, our entry-level model, rear-wheel drive i5. So go check those videos out, depending on which goes up first. We'll see you guys later. Take care. One thing that I've noticed with this i5 M60 is that it doesn't quite have the throttle blending, the throttle smoothing that the eDrive 40 has. And as a result, when you give it a bootful, it really jumps forward in kind of an aggressive way. So it would be nice to get a little bit more smoothness out of this tuning here. I appreciate the immediacy sometimes, but if you're a little bit, lead-footed or a bit clumsy, this can be a very uncomfortable car for passengers sometimes. And I noticed the same thing with the i4 M50. So, of course, it depends on drive mode a little bit. Eco mode or efficiency mode won't let you do that, but in personal and sport, you can get this thing pretty rowdy in a straight line.